We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Amber Guyger, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment.
The Botham Jean family embracing shortly after the judge read the jury's verdict, convicting former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger of murder. That same jury will now decide her punishment.
The jury just heard from Botham Jean's sister. She is sharing how her brother's murder has impacted her family, especially her mother and her father. This again, the penalty phase, Amber Guyger awaiting her fate.
We try our best to comfort each other, but it's really hard because sometimes she calls me on a bad day where I'm low. For Bertram, I would describe him as just a shell, because it's like the light behind his eyes are off. He's not the same.
And attorneys for the Jean family are calling today's verdict a huge victory.
Guyger will go to prison, anywhere from 5 to 99 years in prison. Probation, we're told, is not an option for her.
Our team coverage spans from the Frank Crowley Courthouse to the Southside Flats, the site of the shooting. Let's go ahead and begin with CBS 11's Steve Pickett with reaction to today's verdict. Steve, legal reps for the Jean family call the conviction historic for Dallas.
There is no question their focal point has been a repetition, they say, of the shooting of unarmed African-American men throughout the nation. And in their view, this was simply a reflection of it in this case, and they wanted a guilty verdict from this jury, and you saw that happen today. I saw other attorneys who worked in this courthouse all day, every day, with shock and surprise on that verdict and their reaction, but also people who came here, tears in their eyes, those same people who've been coming for the past week to watch this trial themselves.
This verdict is for them. This verdict is for them. That's right.
It was the family of Botham Jean and their legal team expressing their satisfaction with this murder conviction. At the backdrop of this case, a continuing accusation that Guyger's killing of Jean was another case of police misuse of force and brutality. You did not hear that specifically argued in the prosecution of Amber Guyger in this trial, but the spokespersons for the family today said today's conviction sent a message to Dallas police and, frankly, nationwide.
It's a sad reality that this community waited on pins and needles to decide whether or not someone could be held guilty for killing an unarmed black man in his home while eating ice cream.
But we just hope that now people who live in the Southside Flats, people who live in houses that look identical, this ruling will now say that you are safe to be in your homes, and people can no longer just say, I made a mistake.
These are images, video that document the reaction in court of Amber issued. There are family members for Ms. Guyger present in that courtroom today. No official response from them. They have not been talking since this trial started, and no response from them after hearing this verdict. Again, the Jean family specifically did not speak because, as you know, they were going to be testifying in the penalty phase, but their representative simply said they knew in their hearts and minds that this was a murder case and wanted a murder conviction, and very happy to have it. Reporting live, Steve Pickett, CBS 11 News.
All right, Steve, thank you very much for all of that. And once again, the sentencing phase or the penalty phase in the Guyger trial, as we have been mentioning, it is happening right now. We want to give you a live picture right now of the courtroom. Amber Guyger sitting there right next to her defense attorneys. Just a little bit ago, we heard that the judge exited the courtroom. It appears that she may be entering once again, and maybe the jury as well, given by the standing up of the defense attorneys and Amber Guyger as well. But once again, there is the judge, Tammy Kemp. She is back inside the courtroom to continue the sentencing phase of this trial. J.D. Miles joins us now from the Frank Crowley Courthouse with what the jury has heard so far. J.D.?
Ken, Amber Guyger is the first female police officer ever convicted of murder in Dallas County. The verdict stunned both those who thought she didn't deserve a murder conviction and those who thought she did but didn't think a jury would ever agree to it. Now the process is underway to determine her punishment.
Guilty of murder as charged in the indictment.
There was an audible gasp in the courtroom by those around Botham Jean's family when the verdict came down this morning. There was no visible reaction from Amber Guyger, whose back was to the courtroom camera. She now faces a possible sentence of 5 to 99 years with no possibility of probation. That's according to legal experts, who also believe Guyger could be sent to jail as soon as tonight and be forced to serve time behind bars, even while her conviction is appealed.
She will go to prison and only get out if the appellate court rules that this was not a just verdict.
This is at Botham's high school graduation.
Botham Jean's mother was the prosecution's first witness in the punishment phase of the trial, which began a few hours after the verdict. Allison John spoke about the son she lost and the life he spent helping others through his music and mission work. She also told the jury about the day she learned her son had been killed and the pain she has felt since.
When she came to inform me that she had gotten a call and that somebody told her that Botham was shot and that he died, my life has not been the same. It's just been like a roller coaster. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. It's just been the most terrible time for me.
Definitely some emotional testimony right there. Prosecutors and defense attorneys, as you can see, have a lot more latitude to introduce emotion into this portion of the trial, which is like a separate trial with witnesses, with closing arguments and jury deliberations once again for this part of the penalty phase of the trial. DPD personnel records for Guyger are being introduced right now, where she was accused of adverse conduct at one time, other department violations. Also, some highly racially charged social media posts, text messages she exchanged with fellow officers. Those are also being shown to the jury right now to try to encourage that jury to put Amber Guyger away for a long time. Live in Dallas, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News.
J.D., thank you very much. The jury's job in the Guyger trial, as you heard, it is not finished. While we don't know much about who they are, we do know that there are 8 women and 4 men seated on the jury. 5 of them are black, 4 are Hispanic, 2 people are white, and 1 person is of Asian descent. Now, there are also 4 alternates. All of them are women, and all of them are sequestered for the length of the trial.
The case obviously has captivated people beyond the courthouse. People across North Texas have been following this trial. And CBS 11's Brooke Katz is live in front of the Southside Flats in Dallas where that shooting took place. Brooke, you've been talking to people across the area. So what are they saying about the jury's decision?
Well, Gilma, as you can imagine, it has been a big topic of conversation, especially here outside of the Southside Flats. But even beyond the apartment complex, people are talking about this. Just about 5 miles away, you have the campus of SMU, and law professors there use the case as a teaching tool. The university held something called a flash class today, and more than 100 students were in attendance. They talked about everything, all aspects of the case, from jury selection to how long jurors deliberated and what that could mean for the outcome. We spoke with Professor Chris Jinks, an associate professor of law who helped teach that class. He says the verdict makes it clear that the jury found Guyger's defense that she thought she was in her own apartment unreasonable.
If you dispose of that threshold question in that matter, then the rest of the case is frankly relatively straightforward. But if they had thought that the claim of mistake was reasonable, I think that would have resulted in considerably longer deliberations and possibly a different verdict, but obviously the verdict here was murder.
as far as what Professor Jinks says you can expect next. He says you can pretty much bet on an appeal. We also spoke with a woman who works here in the retail space at the Southside Flats. Says she's met Botham Jean before. Her reaction to the verdict coming up at 5 o'clock. Reporting live in Dallas, Brooke Katz, CBS 11 News.
Brooke, thank you. Let's go ahead and take some time and talk about the victim now, Botham Jean. The 26-year-old grew up in St. Lucia. He graduated from Harding University in Arkansas in 2016, where he was a member of the Good News Singers, a spiritual a cappella group. Shortly after graduation, Jean began working as an accountant at PricewaterhouseCoopers. The defendant, Amber Guyger, is a 2008 graduate of Arlington Sam Houston High School. Dallas police hired Guyger in 2013, and she'd been with the force for more than 4 years at the time of this shooting. She was involved in another shooting in May of 2017. Officers were in a struggle with the man. He was able to get one of the officers' tasers. Guyger shot and wounded that man.